everybody. As I continue my horror franchise movie month, as we've covered the basics of Halloween franchise and Nightmare on Elm Street, now it's about on to miscellaneous horror movies throughout the month of October for Slasher October. I enjoyed my father for a movie review. Say hi, Dad.
Hello.
We are talking about Psycho from 1960, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. What do you think of Psycho, Dad?
Well, I think it's a very important movie in the history of horror, and even today, it's still a very, very effective movie.
I agree. I love this movie. This is like a film like you can like analyze from like beginning, middle to end. It has like so much like scene analysis they can like analyze from start to finish. Like from the opening scene when Marion Crane is having like sex with her boyfriend. They want to get married, but they don't have the money. And then she steals like the money from her her boss's job, and the boss sees her and realizes that she faked her sickness. And then she's like running away. She has like all these like things going through her head, running like what's gonna happen if like she gets caught with the money or not. And yeah, and then
I think that scene is very effective when she's in the car and all of a sudden she sees the boss in front of her cab.
Yeah, it is. Then she arrives at like the Bates Motel. She meets Norman Bates, who seems like he's a nice guy, but once he starts talking about his mother, that's a sign there's something wrong with him mentally and psychologically, that he's got like mother issue problems.
A boy's best friend is his mother.
That's right. And also like the shower. Well, we have to talk about, this is no spoiler right here, we have to talk about the famous iconic shower scene. That's like one of the most famous iconic movie moments, because that was like, well, if you haven't, I don't know. I don't really know this is a spoiler right here. If you haven't seen the film, the shower scene. This is not a big spoiler right here.
Right.
Just when, she's taking a shower, all of a sudden Mary Crane is murdered. It goes from the money to who killed Marion Crane. That's what I love about this film. It's like after when she was murdered, I was like, oh my God. I was invested from that moment of like, who's the killer now?
Right, and it was very, very original.
Yes.
For the heroine of a movie to be killed in the middle of the movie. Right. That was something that was totally unexpected for film goers at the time.
Right, I agree. No one expected. Nobody even saw it at the time. Like when and also because of that, Janet Leigh never took a shower again after that experience.
Right. And it's an amazing scene in the sense that it's a montage, quickly cut pieces of film. And apparently, even though it seems like I guess your mind puts into it seeing her naked, but she's never naked in that sequence.
Because of the haze code, they still couldn't, even though she shows skin, but they're still like you don't see her naked.
Right. And the other thing that's genius is Bernard Herrmann's film score.
Yes.
With the screeching violins as the murder takes place.
Yes.
It's just brilliant cinematic brilliance.
Yeah. Just like so like speechless for how amazing this film is. And also before the stabbing of the shower scene, the part when Hitchcock points to the toilet, that was basically for what I've learned from like film classes and books. Apparently that was the first time a toilet was like, am I correct on that?
Yes, I think so.
That was the first time a camera was pointed at a toilet. Basically the way I look at it, that was like Hitchcock's way of saying that the money does not mean anything at this point. Like Norman Bates did not know anything about the money. He was just a guy who killed people. That's it. And with no motive. There was no motive behind why he killed. That's what makes it so scary and effective. Right.
Well, I mean, he was basically psychotic.
Yes.
With mother complex.
Yes. Very deep mother complex. That's still like irrelevant, like with other like things you can like relate that in today's modern society to some degree. Also, what did you think of like the other performances besides like well actually like have we talked, well you already talked about Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh. What about like like the boyfriend, her sister character? What did you think of those characters?
Yeah, I mean they're basically just ancillary characters, but still, some very famous people were in that movie.
Right.
I mean, John Gavin, was an actor that you would have expected to see more of in the film.
Right.
Then you had, Hitchcock's daughter.
Yes, for a small cameo, which I always keep. every time I go back to revisit, I keep forgetting, oh yeah, there's Hitchcock's daughter. This is only a small cameo, but I don't know if she did any other acting jobs.
I think she did. She was in other films.
Right.
But, just as a...
Right, this was just a favor in for her father, obviously.
Right. Martin Balsam played an interesting character also.
Which character was he again?
He was the investigator.
Oh, yes.
And it was an interesting scene with him going down the stairs.
Yeah, I love. Well, before but before that, I like how when he arrives at the motel, he's asking Norman Bates all these these questions, and he wanted to talk to the mother, but he wouldn't let him, and it leads you for the curiosity just doesn't end right there. It makes you want more out of that this character, how he wants to investigate what happened to Mary, and obviously Norman Bates is lying about everything he's saying to him just to cover that way he doesn't know that he's the one that killed Marion Crane. Yeah. It
was basically a B horror movie,
right?
That Hitchcock promoted in a way that had everybody really on the edge of their seat,
right?
And asking theaters not to let people in towards the end of the movie, so that they wouldn't know what the outcome was.
Right. Well, when I first saw how the way the movie, and I was I'm thinking, wow, this is still scary and effective for a old black and white horror, because the first time I saw this I was 19 and a freshman in college, and it was getting in had joined the horror and sci-fi club, and I was finally getting learning about different types of horror. I knew what Psycho was, but I never saw it until until I was not. But the only glimpse I always saw was that shower scene. Obviously, it was when Norman Bates. No, not that. I'm sorry. Do you remember when I was a little kid? We went to an Alfred Hitchcock exhibit thing where
it was in Universal.
Yeah, Studios. Universal Studios. They had a mock version of the whatchamacallit. The famous shower scene from Psycho. And they showed the clip. I remember covering my eyes, oh my god, this is creepy and scary.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I didn't see the film until I was 19, but I was familiar with that shower scene, but I had no idea, understand that was the middle of the film where the main character was killed off. Yeah. Yeah, that's, even though despite there were certain black and white horror films I was able to swallow, but I guess Psycho I just didn't have the stomach for yet at that time.
Right, and around the same time there was another movie that was released that was actually, I believe, considered the original Flasher. I'm sorry,
first Slasher.
Not Flasher, Slasher.
Peeping Tom.
Peeping Tom.
Yes.
By Michael Powell.
Yes.
And that was in color.
Yes.
And it was really, it killed that director's career.
Yes.
But it's now recognized as being, a seminal film in the history of horror and slasher films in particular.
Right.
And it is a brilliant movie that I would recommend everyone to see.
Which there will be a video on that eventually, but don't go too much details into that. And also,
one thing I forgot to mention or point out is the psychiatrist scene. A lot of people seem to complain about the scene being unnecessary when he explains Norman Bates' problem and his obsession of killing, because we already know this from watching the movie, analyzing Norman Bates' kills because he keeps his mother's killing spree legacy alive. I can respect and see why this scene being unnecessary, but for me personally, I don't mind this scene. I guess because I've seen this movie so many times, it does not bother me that much. I can take this scene with a grain of salt and accept it for what it is. This movie is inspired from real-life serial killer Ed Gein from Wisconsin. In 2012, there was a movie called Hitchcock, directed by Saka Gervasi. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, I apologize. Anthony Hopkins plays Alfred Hitchcock, and the movie is about the making of Psycho. I saw this once, I thought it was alright, but again, it was one of those movies where it's not 100% accurate about the making of Psycho. Hopkins did an alright job playing Alfred Hitchcock. It was a movie I saw once, forgot about it, and I really went back to rewatch it desperately. It wasn't a bad movie. It did not deserve all the praise and hype it got at the time when it came out.
I guess since we've covered, the shower scene, the characters, and analysis, also I want to... Have you ever seen any of the sequels to Psycho?
No.
Alright, well, 2's alright. I've only seen bits. It's alright, but it's just it's just hard to imagine, Psycho in color and Norman Bates in color, and also, I never saw the third one. I heard that's bad. Then there was a made-for-television film called the new beginning, I think, but don't quote me on. Then of course there was the '90s remake, which I've only seen parts of, and there's no point of even. I'm never doing a video on that. But we're comparing which one is better. This one wins, the original. Forget the remake with Vince Vaughn. Scratch that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know what people were thinking to make a shot
Money and greed.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even Anthony Perkins would stab the remake in the shower.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a show with called Bates Motel with what was, I forget that kid. I remember that the actor's his name's escaping, but I remember he was in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake with Johnny Depp. I'll just add that in the description. And Vera Farmiga. It was a good show, but I just don't understand, like, how is this a prequel if it takes place in, like, the modern day, like, 2010s of technology, whereas in the original Psycho was the 60s or late 50s.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it was good. I only saw, like, 1 or 2 seasons of it, and I don't know, for some reason I lost track because I got sidetracked with other things, or I just had other distractions going on at the time. I didn't, like, see the entire series. And why did they pick Rihanna to play Marion Crane in that? It's like, wait a second, that's not Marion Crane.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, the show, just not really a show I like, was obsessed of, or like thinking, oh yeah, this is the greatest thing, or this is a great show. I wasn't like OCD about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, it was okay, it was decent, nothing when I go back to Psycho, this is the one I go back to, the original, because of how, like, classy it is, and how it still holds up, and it's still, like, one of the scariest and most important horror films in the history of, like, just cinema and horror combined.
Right.
Any other thoughts about Psycho you want to touch upon, or?
No, I think we've just about covered it.
All right, that wraps up. Tomorrow you'll see Peeping Tom. See you next time. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.